All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our daily huddle. Jesse Macpherson coming at you here from Phoenix, Arizona. So, going to pick up a little bit from where I left off last week. We talked a little bit about questions and studying, and I kind of wanted to continue in a little bit more on that conversation. I'm sure those of you guys, hopefully, that have been thinking about it since the last conversation, hopefully you've got more questions and you got more exciting questions to ask, because really questions are the answers. I heard it said that smart people have answers and geniuses have questions. And so when you kind of think about the people that really, they get the most out of everything is they're very curious. So I want you to kind of raise your level of curiosity here. And we talked about really studying what it takes to become not just a professional, but specifically a six-figure income earner, and really diving into that. And one of the things that we looked at is, what were they doing? How were they building their day? What were they focusing on? How many presentations were they doing? How did they kind of ramp up their success? How many personal recruits did they have? And see if we could find some common threads when it happened to build this out. So I am going to open this up to Q&A here shortly, because I want you to start bringing more questions and we can start diving into more specific topics for you in your development and your process and your journey here of success inside of your secret business. But I did want to kind of show you guys a little bit about this, because I think it's interesting, because kind of the education process, when I think about how I don't know if it's little importance, but it's frustrating to me over the course of now being in this amazing industry for 18 years, and I plan on being a part of this amazing profession for the rest of my life. I love it. I love the platform that this incredible model has an opportunity to provide success for so many people, and people that come from so many different walks of life. I mean, I don't know any other professions where, if you think about it, it's like the little guy, the little gal can have a shot like network marketing with no background, with no experience, with virtually no money, to be able to go from nothing to 6 or 7 figures, to have a freedom-based business, to have a residual-based business. It's incredible. Like it's truly astounding. And so when I look at the people that don't give the profession it's almost like respect for what it can do for people, and this kind of almost assumption that you can just kind of do a little bit and be wildly successful, or you can just learn something or learn nothing. Like there's people honestly that think that they don't need to figure anything out in order to be successful in this business, to become a professional. But if you think about any other career where, if you're looking to earn 6 figures, 7 figures or beyond, and you take any of those careers, the vast majority of them have skill sets that are required that take years to learn, that you go to school for. And there's this school process that, whether it's a trade school, and even if you want to go be a mechanic, to think of all the things you need to learn in order to be a professional inside of your particular field. Now, there's different mechanics that are professionals, but they only are professional in certain models. Like there are those that are like BMWs, they know, but if you give them a Porsche, it's not going to happen, right? Meaning they know a specific company, they might not know the entire industry. Then there's those that know the whole industry, but when it comes to being maybe a doctor, a surgeon, an attorney, there are things you have to pass the bar to be an attorney. Do you guys know this? Like, this is something that has to happen, but you have to study. And I'm not talking about just a little bit. Like, you got to pass your exams, you got to pass your board. And I wish that more people inside of network marketing, more people inside of Seacret, took their education and their studying of this business as serious as they would any other career where you can earn the type of income. Here's what's crazy. The type of income you can earn in network marketing far exceeds any other trait that you can possibly ever learn that I'm aware of when it comes to education. And I mean a particular trait or skill. There might be a couple that are out there that I'm not aware of, but generally speaking, I don't know. I can't think of any. And if you can, let me know. Maybe there is one, but and why? Because you get the multiplication, you can get the acceleration of what it is that this business can build. So the reason why I'm sharing with this is I want to show you guys, this is one of, not the only one, but I just went into my garage and I pulled out this box. And this is one of my boxes of notebooks that I have from my studying of this crazy world. And this is one of them that I want to share with you, kind of just some of the stuff. And it is just notebook. I mean, it's just book after book after book after book after book. I'll kind of just pull a few of them out for you guys of my notebooks. And back in the day when we used to go to meetings, I don't know if you guys remember those days. We actually went to meetings. It was really cool. And when you would go to meetings, you would get a name tag. Right? So you get a name tag. And so what I would do is I would put it on the back of my journals. And when somebody asked me, you know, what does it take to become a six-figure income earner? I would show them the back of my journals. And I was like, well, you just need to go to this many meetings. Like, I mean, you need to show up. You need to show up for your business. Oh, here's another one. Just completely the back. I know I did this to a lot of them over the years. And then I stopped getting name tags. And the reason I stopped getting name tags because then I became the one who was speaking at these events. So you know, you didn't always need a name tag when you were like, that's the guy. I know that guy, right? But as I'm kind of going through these, I look at them. I want to pull up one. See if I can find it. I know that. Is it this one? No, this isn't it. So, but remember I told you the six-figure ring? So this was the six-figure ring tour. These notes are from January, February, March 16th, 2003. March 16th, 2003. And oh my God, there's some great stuff in all of these. Okay. But I'm not going to go through that one. I really want to see if I can find the original one. But all of these, and this is a book from kind of my first handful of years. If I collected every notebook that I filled over the course of 18 years, let alone from my notes to my books, it would be, I mean, it's going to be a massive, massive, massive pile. But let's see if I can find the first one. This is going to be it. Let's see. So, no, that's not it. Ta-da, ta-da. Oh, is this going to be it? This is it. These are my very first notes that I took from my first event. This was August 2003. This is where it started. Oh my God, it's kind of crazy. This is when I was like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. So I'm gonna go through a couple of my notes just from my first ever notebook for you guys, and I want you guys to understand these are things I wrote down. This was I was 19 years old. I was about to turn 20. And these were the things that I was learning, absorbing, and getting obsessed over 18 years ago, you know, when I really look back on this. And it talked about objections. This is the second page that I wrote, and it talked about objections. And one of the things that I learned was this concept called playing tennis. And what it talked about was kind of just repeat and look confused. And what I mean by that is when somebody asks you a stupid objection, think about playing tennis, right? So you guys have seen tennis? Yes? Nod with me. You guys know what tennis is, right? So the point of tennis is you hit the ball to one side, they hit the ball back to you, and you hit the ball back and forth until somebody messes up. So if somebody serves you up an objection, you know, and they're like, oh, is this a pyramid? And they just hit it to you. Instead of trying to get angry or run from the objection, is just to hit the objection back, meaning repeat the objection, but seem confused. Have you ever seen puppies that are confused? Like they tilt their head and they're like, ooh, right? So, and you say a pyramid, all right? And then what happens is it's almost like you hit the ball back into their court. And so they're like, yeah, like, you know, like I don't want to be in, you know, like one of those things. And you're like, one of those things. And now they have to respond. It's so crazy. When you just repeat the objection as a question, now they get to fumble around with it. And I found that really useful for me in the very beginning because I was like, how do I handle all these objections? That was one of the first notes I ever took. I talked about how there are two types of stories. There are product stories and there are success stories. Talk about building a story. First, you're going to tell your upline story. Second, you're tell your own story. Then you're going to tell your people story. Okay. I don't know. All I know is insert a story. These are things that I learned when I was 19 years old. Okay. Right. I want to show you something that someone showed me. I want to show you something that someone showed me. Okay. All right. Then it talked about, let's see, recruiting, be normal. Okay. All right. This is a people building business. So you're going to have different types of calling. Oh my God, warm market, cold market, ad calls, long distance, and internet. Internet was on here and we wrote down internet. This is so funny. Cold recruiting, right? So these are things you're looking for. People that walk fast, talk fast, right? So you're looking to use people's names, compliment them, okay? Use your career options open, get the number. It's for, oh my God, it's to talk to 10 people a day and use their names, right? So to just start talking to people when you're out and about. By the way, if you want to learn how to connect with people, warm market or cold market, when you meet people out and about, that's a skill I love to teach you guys. And then I learned about the scales of influence, right? So the scales of influence, and what it is basically is on a scale of 1 to 10, 10s are people who think you look up to them, 1s are people who look up to you, and talked about direct and indirect approach. It also told me about how to use really more third party of help, favor, feedback. Help, favor, feedback. So when I was younger, this really helped me because almost everybody I knew was older than me and almost everybody I knew was more successful than me. Because when they said, write a list of everyone you know and write down people that are, more successful than you, I was like, well, that's pretty much almost everybody on my list. So I used help, favor, and opinion. I stopped using opinion because I found out it was more negative than feedback. So, but then they talked to me about red apples, green apples, and rotten apples. So that there were red apples, these are people that they're ready. They're ready to go. There are green apples. Green apples were people that needed some more time. And then there were rotten apples. And there's nothing you can do. These are people, they don't need more time. They don't need more information. They are rotten. In fact, if you leave a rotten apple in with your good apples, what will happen? You guys know, right? That's why they say that one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. So I remember these kind of visuals, these concepts from my first full day of training. Team etiquette, it talked about image, dress for success, be on time, support your team, be friendly, edify your leadership. You want to sit with your guests, pay attention, be prepared, meaning have your notebooks, have your pens, right? So duplication, get fired up, pay attention, right? These were things. Then I drew out, we had to draw out our compensation plan. So every time we got together, we started drawing out what it took to get to the next ranks and what it took to get to the next levels. So we knew what that was from the very beginning. So, and this is, I talked about a low maintenance team versus a high maintenance team. It said, your past does not equal your future unless you live there. Oh, I wrote that down. Isn't that cool, right? And how true is that really? But how many of us are still operating in beliefs of our past? I don't know if I can do this. Well, why would you think I don't know if I can do this? All that is a thought process of, well, in my past experiences, I haven't done everything I've wanted to do. I'm not sure if I can do it yet. Guys, you are a clean slate. We have a paintbrush and a future that's wide open. And if you are committed to learning the skills, look, you learned how to walk. Is that a skill you learned? Yes. Did you learn how to speak English? If you're listening to me right now and you understand it, you know how to speak English. Okay? Did you get through school? Yes. If you are able to operate as a human being and function in today's society, there are things and skills you learned in order to operate. The skills that you need to learn here, treat them like they're just life skills. If you learn them, practice them, implement them, and continue to decide to get better and grow, this is a no-brainer. But this is pretty cool, guys. So this is my first ever dream building session. So they did a dream building session where they said, I want you to write down anything you've ever wanted to own, do, have, create, experience between now and the next 30 years. If money was no object, if I was Santa and you were coming to sit on Santa's lap and I could write and I could make any of your dreams come true, right? Or I had an unlimited checkbook and I could write you a check for anything you've ever wanted, and it's unlimited checkbook, and you get 5 minutes to ask for anything and I will give you a check for it. And you want to write this down. And these are the things I wrote down. I wanted to get my first promotion in 2 weeks. I wanted to get my second promotion in 1 month, my third promotion in 2 months, and my fourth promotion in 6 months. I wanted to go to Hawaii. That was on my list. I just wrote down I wanted financial freedom. This was as many things as I could write down. I wrote down I wanted a BMW. I wanted to live by the beach. I wanted a camcorder. You guys remember camcorders? Right? I wanted a Palm Pilot. You guys remember Palm Pilots, right? So I wanted to have clothes slash shoes, not types of clothes. I wanted clothes. Oh, that's awesome. Travel all over the world, be able to eat anywhere and not worry. That's all I wrote down. I wanted rims on my BMW. I wrote that down too. So and then they opened it up a little bit more and started, you know, kind of getting me to dream bigger. And then I wrote down, after they kind of stopped and asked us to do more, where I wrote down a house. I wanted a new laptop, and I wanted a big screen, a flat screen HD TV widescreen. Because remember when they used to be all 3x4 and then the widescreen ones started coming out? Yeah, that was cool. That's all I wrote down. That was the beginning of my dream building sections. Now, wanted to qualify for their high five club, which was signing up 5 people a month. Do what you do, not what you say. But then I learned this, and many of you guys have heard me train on this, where it talked about 27% of the population is unmotivatable, 60% of the population is motivatable, 10% of the population is self-motivated, and 3% of the population are motivators. How many of you guys have seen me do that training before? Okay. How many of you guys have not seen me do that training before? By show of hands, haven't seen me do this training. Everybody that has their camera off. Okay, just kidding. So now, man, can't wait till we can do live events again. They're so much more fun. But I learned this in August of 2002. And today I still am wrestling with the concept and understanding it and discovering it, and how can I teach this better? How can I train this concept better? How can I share this concept better? How can I use this? And a lot of the trainings here, if you think about it, it's not whether, because you look at statistics, is it really that accurate? I say, okay, well, let's say it's not that accurate. It helped me. It helped me, kind of helped my understanding of our business, and it gave me less fear, less anxiety, less worry, less stress, less uncertainty. When I started seeing these things and going, gosh, okay, that makes sense why some people just don't do anything. That makes sense why some people just do a little bit, or they're hot and cold and they're in and out, and it's so frustrating, right? So it gave an understanding to my frustration that it was kind of okay, that I wasn't alone, that I wasn't experiencing the things that I was experiencing that were unique to me. And I want all of you to understand that what you're experiencing in the course of your career is not unique. You're unique. Your life is unique. But the journey to success in network marketing is not unique. It's not. It's the things that you're going to experience are going to be similar to, and now I'm not saying they're similar to everybody, but they're not unique to you. I'm not saying that my experience is going to be the same as your experience. We'll have similar experiences, okay? So, but for those of you guys that are parents, it'd be impossible for me to say I know the experience of what it's like building a network marketing business while raising kids at the same time. I can't say that. I haven't done that, right? But are there thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of parents in network marketing that have had similar experiences? Yes. So all of that stuff, it made me feel more at home, being like, oh, this is frustrating for all of you too. I don't know why, but that made me feel better. How many guys know that it makes you feel better when you're like, man, all these people struggled really hard too to get to the top? Cool. I feel like I'm on the right path here. In here, I talked about FORM, F-O-R-M, family, occupation, recreation, motivation. Talked about the 4 steps to getting started, how to build your story, how to build your testimonial. Talked about your game plans, your work ethic, positive attitude, be confident, okay? Confidence is different than cocky. I talked about being relentless, never quit, right? I talked about all the info in the world appears as ignorance without action. Oh, that's a good one. All the info in the world appears as ignorance without action. Oh, so good. There's a difference between existing and living, being passionate, full of love, goals, you got to set them. Okay. I talked about poor is focusing on the past. Average people focus on the present, and wealthy people focus on the future. So then it went into objections. Now, I think objections, are dealt with a little bit different here today. But if you take a look here, what he did was, I remember this trainer on the stage, he had all the audience throw out every objection you could ever hear. And he wrote it down on the board, you know? So he was like, just spout out any objection you've ever heard. And he wrote every objection on the board. And then the place started getting crazy. There's like 1,500 people in the audience, right? And so he wrote down the objections on the board. And then what he would do is he would, if it was like a one-shotter, he would nail the objection as fast as he could when someone spouted it out. If it was a very common one, he'd write on the board. And then he went through and he started handling all of these objections. Now, some of these I really love. Some of these, I don't think I would say in a million years now, because this was 2003. It was a little bit different time. Some of them are a little aggressive. Maybe it's just not my approach or not my style, but I want to read some to you guys. You guys want to hear them? They're pretty interesting, right? So how to handle objections, because there's a lot of similarities. So it's a pyramid. Big objection. We just don't really get that nearly as much anymore as we used to. Most people now today have either seen or heard some stuff, and somebody that's that ignorant towards affiliate marketing or network marketing today is probably just somebody you don't even want in your business or near your business. But he talked about, so you want to repeat it with a dumb face. But there were so many other things that he talked about. He said, pyramid, you mean like the ones in Egypt? Like that was how we answered. You mean like the ones in Egypt? You know? So, and they said, pyramid, that's interesting. You mean like what's on the dollar bill? In God we trust? This is how they would answer the objection. Because if you pull out the dollar bill, it has a giant pyramid, in God we trust, right over the top of the pyramid. And then he would say, look, if you want to handle the objection of the pyramid, he would say this. He'd say, well, listen, how long have you been at the bottom of someone else's pyramid that you don't know what it looks like to be at the top? Oh, that's really aggressive. I don't think I could ever say that to somebody. So is this Amway? So is this Amway? I was with a service company. So he said, no, we don't sell products. Is that what you want to do? So most people, if they were saying, is this Amway, it was usually negative. I was really trained that products were bad, like from the get-go, right? From my first weekend training, product companies are stupid. So no, we are not or I said, is this Amway? So say, no, we're not $1 billion company yet, but we could be with your help. That's interesting. Think about it. What part do you want to think about? Oh, I need to think about it. What part do you need to think about? What part do you need to think about more? All the time you're going to have, or becoming wealthy? Interesting. A little passive aggressive. So I have no money. This was actually interesting. This one helped me out a lot. So I have no money. It said, how long has that been the case? That's an interesting question, right? So it's answering an objection with a question. How long has that been the case? And then he said, so I said, so then he asked a second follow-up question. He said, if you continue to do what you've been doing the last 5 years, do you think things will be better in the next 5 years? Basically stating, if you do the same thing, do you think things will be different 5 years from now? Meaning getting people to think about how from the last 5 years, what I've been doing left me with no money. If I keep doing it for another 5 years, I'll probably be left with still no money. So, but then they went into other objections. If I have no money, this was, I want to give you this one because it helped me. It may not be exactly the same for you, but when they talked about having no money, I used this a lot. It was a free car analogy. So you can kind of write this down, and it worked well for me. And here's the reason why it worked well for me, because most of the people that had no money that I was talking to were in Los Angeles, and they were young. This may not work, or you have to pivot the analogy a little bit for different age group. But I want to share with you how I shared it, because it worked a lot. When somebody said they had no money, what I would say is, I say, okay, no problem, totally get it. I say, listen, what's your favorite car, or what's your dream car? So what's your dream car? And I would say, BMW or Ferrari or whatever, right? So a lot of people weren't even thinking Ferrari back then, because that was even too big of a dream car for most of the people I was talking to. So they say a BMW. So for instance, I said, okay, cool. So how much does a new BMW cost? Now, a lot of times they just didn't know. So it was like, okay, well, you want a 3 Series, a 5 Series, a 7 Series, a 3 Series? Okay. So they're $40,000. Let's say $50,000. Okay. And I say, what color would it be? So I would kind of get them to vividly imagine the dream car that they want. So it'd be black. What's the interior? Black. Okay. So black on black, 3 Series. Is it the one with all the options? They're like, yeah, all the options. I was like, okay, cool. So, all right, we got this BMW. I said, all right, now I would pull out my car key, which I'm reaching in my pockets. I'm not wearing any pockets. But let's say, let's say I would pull out my car key and I would say, pretend this is the car, your dream car. I said, let me ask you a question. If I said it was $249 to get started in my first business. And I said, listen, what if I told you that I had the keys to your brand new, black on black, brand new 2003 or whatever it was, BMW, tricked out, M3, whatever it was. MSRP is $50,000 on it. I have the keys to it right here. And I said, if you bring me $249 by tomorrow night, cash, credit card, someone else's credit card, pennies, nickels, quarters, check, don't care. Could be a combination of all of that or above. $249. If you bring this to me, I'll meet you here tomorrow night within 24 hours. If you brought me $249 by tomorrow night, I would give you the keys to this brand new car. Could you find it? And what unanimously 100% of everyone would say was, oh, yeah. I'd figure it out, right? So what I did was, in that sense, I said, so in other words, you'll find $249 for a vehicle, a car, but you won't find $249 for a vehicle that won't just get you a car. It will get you your home, your future, your freedom, and everything that you've ever wanted. And so what I was doing is trying to eliminate the money objection from the fact that even if somebody says they don't have it, they could find it, and get them to really kind of look at what they were willing to do for a specific value of something. Now, obviously, if somebody's not finding the money, it's usually not the money. You guys know that, right? When someone says, I don't have the money, that's a BS excuse 99 times out of 100. Now, there is somebody that's saying they don't have the money, and it's true. They might not have the $200 in their bank account. But guys, with Discover Seacret, give me a flipping break. You know what I mean? Come on, right? So there's really no excuse for someone getting started, number one. Number two is it's not about the money. It's about I'm not confident in how this is going to work yet. That's what that is. It's a lack of confidence. That's one of the reasons why I don't promote more so the company. I promote our systems and I promote our team. Because when you promote the systems, you promote the team, that's where the confidence can really come into play. So interesting on money. Looks good to be true. Looks too good to be true. What if it was and you didn't find out? Oh, so what if it was and you didn't find out? That's what I use that a lot, actually. Said, if you've ever wanted to win the lotto, what are your chances if you don't buy a ticket? Right. So I don't have the time. This was an interesting one. How many hours do you have in the day? Look at you watch. No time now, no time in 5 years. Was talking about the same thing. I said, well, how long has that been the case? Not having time. So, and then it would talk about it was a scam. Somebody said, how many scams have you seen on Forbes and NBC? They've been in business for 30 years. Not really relevant. I already make six figures. It says, the question was, well, that's amazing. How much money do you make when you don't work? So I was like, interesting. So, or how many people have you helped make six figures? Interesting. So, I want a real job. What part of a real job do you love so much? I'm looking for security. Then he would draw out the pyramid and then he would talk about how the people at the top are the ones that have security. The people at the bottom don't. I got to pray about it. I have to pray about it, right? So he would say, well, have you ever prayed before? Well, of course. So, well, how do you know this isn't your answer? That's a good one. I gotta pray about it. So, and then he would go on to say, like, I mean, I don't think you're going to drive down the freeway and you're going to see a big sign that says, do secret, God. You know what I mean? Like, it's usually not that obvious. But if you've been praying for an opportunity, maybe this is your answer. Maybe this is what you've been praying for. Spouse. Oh, I can't even repeat this one. It's too obnoxious. I tried before. I've tried network marketing before. And you say, well, if they were married, he would say this. And he said, did you ever have date somebody before you got married? I say, well, yeah. Well, so in other words, so you dated people and it didn't work out. You just needed to find the right one. So you didn't marry the first person you dated. And then he would also say this a lot of times. They say, have you ever tried before? It's like, have you ever gotten food poisoning? Or have you ever thrown up from eating something bad? Did you quit eating? So listen, it's not that food is bad. You've got some bad food. Listen, I know what it's like to be in a bad company. I know what it's like to want to, throw up from your experience, but doesn't mean that food is bad. Doesn't mean that, dating's bad. Oh, these are good, right? Not a salesperson. He would be like, what do you mean? You're selling me right now. He would talk about if you're married, it's like, listen, you can't lie to me. You're in sales. How do you think you got that ring on your finger? I have to pay to get started. Why do I have to pay to get started? And then he would talk about business. Have you ever heard of McDonald's? Have you ever heard of all these places? And he'd say, listen, if you want to be a business owner, name a business you don't have to pay to get started. Here, instead of paying $50,000, $100,000, $1 million down on a business, you can do it for a couple $100. I need benefits. He said, would you choose between benefits, financial free? You have to choose between financial freedom and benefits. Can't have both. He would talk about if you're looking for security, one of the differences is the more security you have, the less freedom you have. The more security you have, the less freedom you have. So when he talked about security, I would say that's why they call it maximum security prison. I was like, ooh, that's interesting. See, and I always had that reference in my head that, and especially today, but remember this was 2003 when, the corporate world hadn't really gotten crushed yet. Like 2008, the world changed when it came to security from banks, from financial, from all that stuff. And it really had started changing a little bit because if you kind of rewind back in time, everybody used to be self-employed prior to the Great Depression. They were tradesmen, they were craftsmen. They had their own skill for the most part. They were mostly self-employed and a lot of business owners. And then the Great Depression hits and all of a sudden people get obliterated. And there's this kind of a concept of safety in numbers. This is where this comes from. Job security. Job security came from this. And then you have the manufacturing industry and you have the kind of the industrial revolution. And the industrial revolution was the concept is it's too scary to go alone, is let's all band together, let's stay together, we're stronger together. And that's what really happened. And the idea of job security came about where you could work for a company for 20, 30, 40 years. You get the gold watch and the pension and you kind of live out your golden years, which was about 5 years. Because if you retired at 60, you died on an average of 65. And that was the plan, but we're not in the industrial age anymore. We're in the information age and things are changing so rapidly and so fast. And so in 2008, the world changed and luckily we don't have to combat some of this stuff. So need benefits. Let's see what else. I don't know anyone. Do you live in a cave? What a terrible response. But that's what we wrote down. How funny is that, right? That's not a good, don't say that to people. So I think you could probably handle that objection a little bit different today with social media. How much money do you make off of me? That was the thing we used to get. How much money do you make off of me? I said, you're right. Here, if I help you become successful, we become successful. If you go out there and become successful, I make money off of you. Okay. But the more that you make, the more that I make. So in other words, we have a symbiotic relationship. What he would say was, what's interesting is the company you work for right now has been making a fortune off of you and you've never thought about it. How much money is the company you currently work for making off of you right now? And what's so funny is like, that was a really good answer to that objection because a lot of people, if they worked a traditional job or employed, they never thought about how much money the company's making off of their $15 an hour. Again, most of the people I was talking to, these were younger kids. So, bad press. You guys have bad press or like bad ratings or a review. Said no one talks about nobody talks about people who aren't doing anything. Dogs never bark at parked cars. I remember he would say that. So dogs never bark at parked cars. Those are some of the objections. That was like my first weekend or first day. And it was actually a 2-day event inside of network marketing, which was incredible. And from that one event, I was hooked. You couldn't pry me out with a crowbar. I was like, this is it. Because the information that I was getting that weekend was so monumental to me because I was almost angry because I was like, how come no one teaches this stuff in school? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, how is it? I'm a 19-year-old kid and I'm seeing people that are 30, 40, and 50. I was the youngest by nearly a decade in that room. And right. And most of the people in the room were there, and I could tell that they were being as like mind blown as I was. And I was sitting there going like, people spend their whole lives not learning this stuff. Like, how is that? How in the world do we spend 20,000 hours in school and we graduate and we don't know this? Like, I was angry. And so that passion really fueled me to want to learn as much as possible. And then my next big event that I went to was September 20th, September 20th, right there. September 20th, 2002. This is just after I turned 20. And this was an advanced training I was so excited about. And maybe we'll do some more of this training tomorrow. But if you guys learned something from here today, I want the concept of this is not me teaching you guys my notes of when I started my career, but I want you to understand, if you look at my notebooks here, this obsession with learning, this obsession with understanding, this obsession with getting better, this obsession, because I want you guys to be obsessed with learning our business. I want you to be obsessed with learning and understanding it, because the more you can learn it, the more you can teach it, the more valuable you will become. Because again, that's what our marketplace pays for. Our marketplace pays for value. Is how can I be of value? How can I become more valuable? And how can I be able to share more value? Because the more depth you have, the more wisdom you have, the more information you have, the more that you can pass it on and pay it forward. So that is, I know I said I was going to ask questions, but then I got into my notes and I got excited about my notes. So we'll do some questions tomorrow. So bring your questions for tomorrow, and we'll see you guys then. Take care. Have a good day. Bye, guys.